Alright, so the whole point of exposing people in public is that I don't want to do it in public, but I'm hoping that somebody in the public gives a shit and recognizes that these are their rights too. The things that were done to me can be done to any one of you, provided you're homeless. A lot of people treated me completely like shit for having panic attacks. A lot of people did things to me that they didn't like having those things done back to them. Of course, the police didn't care that those things were happening to me. But when those people did that to me for years on end, without me doing anything back, when I finally did the same things they did to me, the cops were all over that shit. The cops telling people that they have to report it to Facebook, and if Facebook doesn't do anything about it, then it must not be against the law. Well, here's what happens when you report something on Facebook like that, though. It destroys the evidence that you need the police to fucking see. Lucky me, by the time I did that with Mr. Adam Klein, I knew how to take screenshots by that point. A lot of these people I was pissed off at is because they didn't come forward. They didn't keep their word. Now, all of them have reasons. Being afraid of getting your kid took for standing up to the government, that's a pretty fucking legit reason if you ask me. But that's not the only reason. Like Tabby, she kept that guy Josh around for a lot of years, despite the fact that he was an alcoholic that wouldn't quit. No, it's not alcohol. Java Monster helps calm me down and put me to sleep. Odd, isn't it? Caffeine puts me to sleep. With Mike Boudet in the Sword and Scale episodes, that guy went out of his way to paint the predators as the victims, and the victims as the predators. Tim Beeson is not a victim in all this. Neither is Ted Bollinger. And you know, I'm beginning to think that Alycia wanted her sister dead. Even after her sister died, Alycia was too cowardly to come forward and tell the truth. I was prevented from having an honest day in court because I didn't have the money for a lawyer. I was prevented from having a say-so because of other people who lied outright. And their lies were allowed in court, whereas my actual evidence was not. At no point in time were any of my public pretenders willing to even look at that evidence. They had already decided that I'm a dead shut railroad and that's the way it's going to be. If someone showed up, then they'd postpone court. That's what they did in Larimer County. Every time somebody showed up, they postponed it. Every single time somebody showed up in my corner, they postponed my court date for another at least 2 weeks, if not a month. So every month I'm spending $100 to go down to somewhere that I'm victimized somewhere that the police refused to take my report. I needed someone to go down there with me to make them take a report. My public pretenders wouldn't do their jobs as far as the courts go, and they told me that they couldn't do anything about any of the assaults against me, that I had to go down and fill out a report. I'd been trying for over a year. For over a year. A lot of these people that threw me away, they threw me away because they didn't keep their word. They didn't want to be ostracized for it. Ostracized. That's one of my favorite parts of Athenian democracy. But the other thing about Athenian democracy is everybody gets a fair and equal chance. I shouldn't say that. Women weren't. However, our society isn't much different. Now, there's good parts and bad parts of every society and every person's history. There's a lot of people that were just too fucked up to help. There's a lot of people who have kids and they have to worry about what's going to happen to their kids. But most of the people that have experienced this are still homeless. It's because homelessness is a black hole. You're homeless because you don't have enough money to pay your bills, so you think you're going to save up by being homeless. Not like you have much choice. You can't pay your bills, so you're evicted. And then there's a lot of people who have never been in that situation. And it's when you encounter people like that who want to help but don't want to listen, they got their own bias because they've never lived it. You got to get past their bias, but they're too busy talking. A lot of the people who offered to help, they never helped. And a good portion of the people who offered to help, or a good portion of the people who offered to listen, never listened. Never made any effort. It was all in texting. Meanwhile, I have severe panic attacks over texting for the exact reason that I have severe panic attacks over texting. Does that make any sense to you? Probably not. So I'm going to explain it to you. You take things wrong in typing, which is why I try to speak to you. But you don't hear me, you want to talk over me when I try to speak to you. So I make videos. And then you don't watch the videos. But you want to help. When you get hung up on a name, like which Amy is this? Well, it doesn't matter which Amy at the moment. It matters what I'm telling you, the story. If you want to stop and ask 400 questions about which Amy, you're going to miss out entirely on the story, and I'm going to get frustrated. Mike Boudet, when he made his story, he did it for entertainment and ratings. He also broke the law. Him and his coworker, Josh. They were supposed to take my report and give it to the police, but they did not. They used it to slander my name for entertainment. And a lot of people came after me as a result of that. A lot of people who hate me on the internet hate me because of Mike Boudet. He's got a lot of followers. He's very popular. He's popular because he destroys people's lives for entertainment, and people love the shit out of it. Just like Alycia and Maddie and Natalie destroyed my life for entertainment. They could have told the truth at any point in time. When I said Natalie saved me, she didn't just save me from myself. I mean, yes, I was suicidal, but I was suicidal for a reason. I couldn't take care of myself, and I was trying to communicate with people, but it's all in texting. Now, I never had a problem with any of these people in real life. None of them. But, in typing and texting, yeah, there is. It's because they just assumed who's right and who's wrong without looking at the evidence. And then these people who claim that they wanted to help, they didn't do any of the help that Natalie got, or Natalie's family got. People to go down there with them to the police station. People to help them collect evidence. For me, it was like pulling teeth. Like at Shannon's. Shannon's not a bad person. She's just an alcoholic. But it's impossible to get an alcoholic to hear anything other than what's going on in their own head. So she doesn't actually hear anything that I'm saying. She hears to reply. So there's things that I've told her repeatedly. You can notice in all 3 of the videos that I posted where it's a conversation between me and Shannon. All 3 of them, she makes the same suggestion over and over again about the fucking mailbox. Now, she's a lot nicer about it than she was before, because before it would have been her rapid firing that over and over and over again. If you're going to help somebody, you need to understand the situation. And the situation, when you're stuck, hung up on a name, which Amy, which Jennifer, which this person, and which that person, that's the thing, is that I have to remember all of this. I have a list with hundreds of names on it. Literally close to 400 names of witnesses. People who told me things that either A, were false, or B, really need to be brought up in court. And even the stuff that was false needs to be brought up in court, because it was one massive fucking head game. Most of the people that I get that pretend they're going to listen, they don't. They're too busy getting hung up on little shit that really, when I'm trying to tell you a series of events that happened and you're getting stuck on something, and then you're going to want to ask questions that happened 6 months down the road or 4 months earlier or things like that. No, that's not how it works. There's an established timeline. And that's why it's important to be able to write my story and have access to all of this stuff. But I also went out of my way to prove a lot of the things that I said. Like when I was in the Starbucks in the other part of Cheyenne. And I was talking about when I wanted to go into the Navy. Yeah, the cops came and talked to me. Now, did I threaten to shoot anybody? Nope. Was I talking about wanting to shoot people? Nope. I was talking about when I was younger and how I felt after the hell that I went through in Chapel, Nebraska, and my youth before that. Now, with Shannon, she's not a terrible person, but you notice her and her boyfriend, they fight like cats and dogs. Now, normally I can understand that situation, number one, and number two, I can handle that situation. I can just leave. But that's the problem, is that in that situation, I couldn't just leave. I needed access to a mailbox, and I needed to be able to get my disability back. I needed to be able to get an honest day in court, but the police did everything that they could to prevent that. So did Mike Boudet. So did the Bollingers. I tried to go in and speak to the police. When I went in and tried to speak to them nicely, I got ignored. Even when I called 911, they didn't take my report. Although that's because of what other people did. Graham painted a picture for that officer, Jordan Anderson, that I just needed to be listened to. Like a therapist. Oh man, it's fucking 4 o'clock in the morning and this fucking crazy dude wants to fucking bitch about something. Graham should not have spoken for me. That's the same issue that I had with that Sarah Miller lady. Is that me and her literally never spoke. Not even once. She was claiming that we spoke on a couple of posts. No, that's typing. That's not even close to the same form of communication. With Joanna Taylor, she didn't understand it either. Neither did Natalie. Neither did Karamia. Neither did Dan Fabert. Either that or they understood it too well, because Dan Fabert, he knows that it makes me want to blow my goddamn head off. Same thing with Karamia. Same thing with Layla Johnson. Same thing with that Sarah Miller lady. None of these people were willing to communicate with me in an effective fashion. And then when they were so pissed off that I didn't get to speak anyway. Now there's a few people, they were so irate and asshole-ish that I saved the videos, but I'm not posting them up on YouTube. I don't mind painting me as a overbearing asshole. But some of the things that people had to say were just outright cruel. There's at least 8 people that tried to make a report that were denied. So far, that I'm aware of. Karamia, Aaron Cockerham, Miss Peaches, Mandy Hughes, myself. The list goes on. These people keep making excuses. Why do I call them excuses? Because the people who were helping the Bollingers were allowed to do those things. When somebody has access to a computer and internet and an outlet and a roof over their head, and they have enough money coming in to cover that, then it doesn't occur to them that there are people without those resources and that it takes time to build those resources. Whereas people have always used the term mentally ill to steal my resources and get away with it. Meanwhile, I'm not allowed to get frustrated. I'm not allowed to defend myself or I get in trouble. Right now, it's illegal for me to use my First Amendment rights to freedom of speech because of protection orders on court dates that I was prevented from going to. What they did was make sure that all of my finances were tied up so that I couldn't get a lawyer. And then they continued to abuse me for the entire year last year. People, even after they found Joseph Lopez, didn't stop the threats, didn't stop the harassment, didn't stop the slander. My accusers are Maddie Boa, Alycia Bollinger, Shelley Campbell. These are people that I should have been allowed to face in court. They prevented me from going to court, slandered my name in court multiple times, sent people after me multiple times. What I needed help with was forcing someone to take a fucking look at that who could do something. Meanwhile, people want to tell me pretty words and play fucking therapist. I don't need a fucking therapist. I need a fucking lawyer, and I need the fucking cops to do their fucking jobs.